All right, I am never been live before, so bear with me. This way? Oh, this way. There we go. All right, I am trying to figure out how to do this, so bear with me, people. All right, today I'm sketching Duff Baby house. It's the oldest house in Windsor, Ontario. So this is what it looks like. Ignore that, I have something going on my iPad so that it doesn't shut down. So that's what we're sketching today. And so I keep it up on my iPad so that I can see what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna rough in a sketch. I don't always use rulers, but I think I will today. Just roughing in about how big I think it'll be. Do it a little bit smaller. Oops. All right, let's see. Okay, so this house has, I'm going to measure because it's got 6 windows and there is a window in the middle. So I'm going to kind of just ballpark. Actually, a good way to do this is if you're not sure, if you don't have an even number, you can kind of go like this. And then measure like that, and then you get the exact middle. So that's one way to do it. So then I know there'll be one there, and I know it's going to be a little bit shorter there. So I'm just like roughing in my shapes at this point. Often I'll adjust it. I'm a lot more detailed if I'm doing like a commission, or a lot more like accurate, but we're just kind of doing an easy sketch today. So yeah, so we got there's a kind of a foundation right there, and then I've got like the steps. So again, I'm kind of roughing in my shapes. I'm not worried about really perfect accuracy at this point. This is a loose sketch. And then there's a door. So I am going to look at, I'll show you in here. So I'm looking at the door and I'm kind of estimating how far up it goes. So we're gonna say this is like about 3.5. So the door is at about 1.5, just over 1.5, almost 2. But the door itself is a 1.5 up. So we know that it just kind of gives you an idea of where in the sketch to go. I usually like always forget my numbers. So that gives us an idea too. We can kind of adjust this now. So we've got, I probably should have done this to begin with, but, and then, so the door itself is about here. The top of that like fancy spot is about there. And then I'm going to measure the roof. The roof's at about a 3. So it's, you know, we got pretty close. Well, not that close, I guess. Depends on how big your sketch is too, if you're doing like a, you know, like a much bigger sketch, the numbers don't always add up. So I'm just adding in the doorway here. And again, I'm just roughing in my shapes. It's hard to do that when on an angle. And then there's like a little thing there. And then there's like a little like trim area. And then that window starts right above. And it's about the same size as the door. And it doesn't quite go to the roof. So then this kind of gives me an idea of where my other windows will be as well, because there's two other windows. So then I can go like this. There's some little windows here. The frame of the door goes almost right to, oops, no, it goes to about there. So the porch is about the same width of those windows. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Hey, how are you? It's kind of crooked a little bit, so, but again, we're just roughing in our shapes. There you go. All right. So then we've got our roof has like a detail underneath, so just gonna like rough in a little bit of area for that. And then we've got our two windows. So we've got a window here, and on either side. So I just want to make sure that I get those windows accurately. So how I'm gonna do that, now I'm not gonna measure. Yeah, no one's in the chat. It's the first time I've ever been live, so I'm not really surprised. It's not the same as my TikTok, but on YouTube it saves the videos. So, okay, so then so what I'm gonna do is, when I'm looking at this sketch, I'm kind of looking at like where things line up. And because I don't really know where to put those windows yet, and I don't really want to measure, I'm just kind of lining up. So this porch line lines up almost perfectly with this window. So I'm going to go in and roughen this window, and then I'll roughen this window, and then that gives me an idea of all the spacing. So that's what I'm going to do. So the window is about here because it lines up almost perfectly. And it goes almost straight to the top of the roof like that. There's only two. So, like this. And then I can come down here and it goes to about there. Oops, maybe a little bit further over. So I know the line is going to be here and here. Same here. And it's about the same width as this window. So it's a little bit bigger. And the same height. See, that actually looks too big. I think this window's too big. All right, try that again. So I've got three windows here. Make sure they're not too big. move this one over just a tiny bit. Yeah, I've got a TikTok. It's more like coloring related though. Yeah, that's kind of close. And then I'm gonna straighten up these lines a little bit. Get in there. All right, and then I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. I'm gonna put these lines in there, and it's about the same width. And again, this is not gonna be a perfect sketch. This is a loose sketch. If I was doing like a custom commission, it would be a lot more accurate than this. This is just me doing a daily practice. I'm trying to get my like eye for spacing and everything. I'm trying to build up that muscle kind of thing. Yeah, so I'm actually gonna make that a little bit smaller. And then these windows I made a little too big, so. Like that. See, my windows are not spaced correctly, but this is why we do daily practice, right? Because I want to build up that, like the eye for spacing. And I know that this is not 100% accurate, but it's still gonna resemble the house. Yeah, everybody's gonna judge your stuff. Like, I mean, people judge my stuff too, so it's, you know, just the other day I had somebody say something that, she said something like, I'm trying to remember exactly how she phrased it. She said something kind of like, how real artists do it. And I don't know if it was a jab at me, I don't know, but I don't really care because, I mean, you have to consider the source too. Like, if people, like random people on the internet are giving you a hard time about your art, it's like, do they know anything about art? Are they your customers? You know, it's like when people have opinions about, you know, medicine and they're not doctors. It's like, well, I'm not going to take your advice because you're not a doctor and you don't know what you're talking about. So you really have to consider the source when people are being judgy. It doesn't matter what you do, people are going to judge, so you might as well do what you want. So I'm just roughing the windows here. Like, this is the first time I'm going live, and it's, you know, kind of scary. And our first time going live drawing. I've never gone live drawing before. And I'm making mistakes. You can see that I'm making mistakes. But you know what? You don't get good at doing stuff if you just stay inside your comfort zone. So I'm just adding little things that I'll probably forget to do later. And then I'm gonna ink it. So I'm really just adding these lines. They don't have to be perfect. I'm just adding them so that I don't forget later, because I have a tendency to forget things. And then this is going to be a loose sketch anyway. It's not like a super accurate representation. So there's like a thing here. I mean, it will be like kind of accurate, but it'll look like it. It just won't be like a perfect example of what I am able to do, but that's okay. Yeah, so that's, I'm gonna have to fix that up because there's a bunch of little railings there. And then we've got a railing here, a railing here. And then we've got some steps. And then we've got a couple of windows down here. I'd like to, in the future, print out the picture and leave it so that you guys can see it. But I'm house sitting, so I don't have access to a printer right now. Okay, so that's pretty well done. It does have like a kind of a, I'm gonna rough this in too before I forget. It's got two like chimneys right here. There's kind of a perspective thing going on here, so I'm just gonna rough in these little chimneys. And then I really wanted to have some like lo-fi music on, but I can't have it on and have my picture up for some reason with my iPad, and I'm not, because then I'm house sitting, so there's a bunch of like little notches here, so I'm just kind of roughing them in so that I don't forget to add them later. So they're not, that's not a true representation of what they're gonna look like. So then we've got, oh, that's kind of cool. There's like a little spider web thing here. Oh, there's none in the middle. That's kind of like that. That's really cool looking. That's really neat. I like that. Okay, and then we've got the door. Okay, I'm ready to ink. That's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to use a 005. So this is, I'm using Bristol paper. Actually, I'll do a little, there's like kind of a path here too. So I'll just go like that. All right. So just to remind you of what we're sketching, this is what we're sketching. It's the Duff baby house. Sorry, my iPad is disgusting right now. I gotta wipe it down. All right, so now I'm gonna ink it. This is the fun part. This is my favorite part. So I usually start from the top. Sorry, my light is like kind of, see if I can move you closer so you don't get so much shadow. All right, so I usually start from the top, and when I'm doing loose sketches, I really like to do sort of a, like a, just a really loose style. And then there's a little bit of a perspective thing happening here, so I'm gonna add that. So this is not meant to be a perfect, accurate representation. This is like the fun stuff that I do. But what I'm really practicing is my ability to like see spaces, like to accurately guess how things are spaced. And I didn't quite get it on this one, but going live adds like an extra layer of sort of pressure on figuring that out. So that's why I'm doing that. I usually do houses and cars. I like to add a little bit of like squiggles in my lines. I took a course to learn how to do this, and I've been practicing ever since. The course is at the link below. It's called Expressive Architecture Sketching, I think. It's from Domestika. I paid my own money for it, so this isn't like it's an affiliate link, but it's like I paid for it before I became an affiliate. And if you see that course, you'll see that he's a lot looser than I am with his sketches. So it's kind of where I learned. Yeah, go ahead, draw. It's the whole point. I'm trying to just show up imperfectly because, you know, it's so easy to just never want to show your art. But if I had not started showing my art in public, then I wouldn't have been where I am today, which is doing commissions and just like falling in love with art. So I think it's important to just show up imperfectly. Okay, so this house has like a little, it's got siding, and siding always has like a corner like that. So like brick doesn't, but siding always has like a little strip on the edge that contains the siding. So there's always like a little strip there. One of my favorite things to sketch is siding. I know that's really dumb, but it's fun. It's like a weird thing to have be your favorite of anything. Okay, so I'm gonna do these. I'm not worried about these being super like straight. I actually kind of want them to be a little wonky because that's the style I'm going for. Got a cat in here staring at me. He's like, who are you talking to in here? I'm at my mom's craft table, so yeah, go ahead, do it. That's what this board is. It's her like craft. She does like painting, so. And then I'll be coloring this with alcohol markers when I'm all done. All right, so I'm gonna do the windows. So I'm just roughing them in. Not really, I'm inking them in, I should say. But I'm just doing like the outlines first. I find that when I have like a lot of like one thing to do, you know, like a lot of siding or a lot of basically a lot of anything, a lot of bushes, a lot of railing, a lot of you know, windows, whatever it is. I like to do, you know, like a lot of the same. I don't know if that makes sense. Like I might do all of rectangles first, and then I might go in and do all of the sills. I just find it easier to like it's like almost like the muscle memory. It's easier for my brain to like be consistent with my lines and everything if I'm doing the same thing over and over again. Okay, so then this thing has sort of like an under thing, and then it's got like, we've got a couple things here, and then there's like a door thing, a frame around the whole door area. And then see, this is what I mean. So if you look at, it's not exactly perfect, but I have an idea of like how the door is going to look. So now I can like sort of try to fit it into this little section. There's a little frame around that door. And then I'll put this thing in here. It's cool that it looks kind of like a little spider web. It's a neat little and then I've got the little door. Cool. So then I'm going to go in and do the inner part of the windows. Now these windows have like white, a lot of windows have like white trim on the inside. I usually don't do anything with that until at the very end with my white marker, only because it's so tiny that it's really hard to get the little line. Like I could line them all in, but they're so tiny that it would be hard to make sure that the alcohol marker doesn't bleed through. All right, so I'm going to do the siding, and this is really thin siding. So the siding doesn't have to be perfectly aligned, like it doesn't have to be a perfect representation, but you know, if you have siding that's like really far apart, you just want to be mindful of the different types of siding. And I tested going, you know, like in between like this rather than across. But I find that in order to keep it consistent looking, it looks better if I do it all in one shot like this instead of, you know, going in between each window. Like it's easier to keep it level. Sometimes I forget. So, and it's okay if, well, I think it's okay if they're not perfect. This is a loose style, so I'm not looking for perfection here. I'm looking for my unique style. See, that one's a little bit off, but maybe I can show you the difference. So that doesn't look too bad. Just trying to make sure it lines up at least mostly. I think it helps to, I find that I have a tendency to tense my arm up while I'm sketching. So I have to like constantly remind myself to like loosen up my forearm. Excuse me, let's take a little sip of water here. So we'll be testing the times of day that I go live, and I'm hoping in the future I can figure out how to get music going here. So it won't be so quiet. But I am hoping to test different times. But it'll probably end up being times of day where I can fit it in, because I do have work and family and stuff like that. So, but all of my lives will be recorded and you can watch them anytime. So yeah, I have never been live before, so I'm not surprised. I don't have a lot of followers. So, and I'm not a bro, but I appreciate the casual sentiment, I guess. That's okay, you don't need to stay, especially if you're not going to be kind. I'm not forcing anyone to be here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to add a little bit of detail here. Some brick. Add a little detail down here too. So if you're doing something that's like this is further away and this is closer, if you kind of do like that, helps you make it look like it's further away. So I'll do the same thing because there's brick here, so I'll kind of do a little bit of a detail like this. And it goes kind of like this. Yeah. Yeah, if anybody's joining, I'm not worried about the fact that there's nobody here. I'm sketching anyway, so I thought I'd go live. I don't know what you're trying to say, but I don't know. I like sketching. If you don't like what I'm doing, then you don't have to be here. I'm not begging for followers or anything. I sell these custom commissions to people and they love it, so not gonna hurt my feelings. I don't know what you're asking me. Please, what? I don't know what you're saying. I'm sorry, I'm new to lives on YouTube. I don't know. Maybe there's lingo I don't know. I'm old. I don't know. I don't know what you're asking me. I don't understand. So now I'm going to color it in with my alcohol markers. Okay, I'm just going to ignore you because I don't know what you're saying. I don't know if you're speaking like young person lingo and I just don't understand or what's going on. Just picking some colors here. So the roof is kind of a little bit brown, so I'm going to start with like a brown. And this is going to look totally crap as I first start. It always does. Actually, I think I'm going to switch to my other side. It will almost always look bad the first layer, so be warned. you're asking me. Like, you're saying please, but I don't know. Like, you're not, I don't know what you're saying. Sorry. I'm trying to get rid of you because I don't know what you're doing. Yeah, so I've hidden you in the chat because you're not being very kind, and I don't need that kind of stuff on my channel. So, and you'll find that I do that across all my channels. If you're gonna come in and antagonize me, I'm just gonna block you. Like, I don't have the energy for that. So anyway, bye. I'm just adding a little bit of gray detail. It's almost like you can't even tell. This is what I do with, like, when I have a white building. I add a little bit of just like some gray details just so that it's not so flat. Like around the windows. Do some like shading and stuff. And then I'm gonna add this to the bottom too, because the siding, or the thing at the bottom there is a gray. Oh, there's a whole building over here that I missed, but it's okay. We're just practicing today, so I'm not worried about it. So the thing I like about alcohol markers is the kind of like the strokey look. So I don't try to make my, I don't try to like blend perfectly almost ever. I'm gonna add, actually I'd like to add I'm going to add this color here as my sort of base for the red brick part. Yeah, that's looking okay. And then I'm going to add some more brown to the roof. So I kind of want this to look a little bit blotchy because it's an old building, right? So we don't want it to be like perfect. It's interesting because I can't tell if that brick on the windows is red or if it looks brown to me. So I may end up just, this is gonna look like crap at first, so that's okay. We're okay with that. Got a little ASMR going on here. I don't know what you're trying to message, but it's deleting you because you're hidden. So, let's see, I'll go like this with the red brick. Like, I don't know why you're coming into my channel to antagonize me. Like, don't you have anything better to do? Like, it's my first live. You think you'd be a little bit kinder. All right. And then I'm going to add some shadows here. It's still going to kind of, it almost always looks like garbage until it's totally done, so. And I'm going to pretend that the light is kind of coming from this way. So we're going to add some shadows like here and here. I think I need to refill this marker. It's getting a little fuzzy. I might even need a new one. I think the nib's getting a little worn out. Maybe I just need a new nib. This is a Copic marker. I like Copics, but they are pricey. Oops, I did the wrong side. That's okay. And then it's really dark under this porch, so I'm gonna just do that. All right, and then we've got, this is kind of, I'm gonna add some purple later too for my shadows, because I really like using purple. That side would probably be shaded. I think it's looking okay. All right, let's see. So I've got some, I'm gonna do my windows. I have kind of a, I don't remember if I learned this from the course I took or not, but this is how I do windows anyway. I always add like a blue. I usually go lighter blue than this, but my blue is kind of running out, so we're going a little bit darker today. I don't usually worry about if it bleeds over the line a little bit, because I will fix that up later. People seem to really like how I do windows. I think that's one of the reasons I sell custom commissions. Okay. Oh, and I missed this one. And then I usually go in with my, I've got this, it's called Lipstick Natural. Thank you, Joe. Oh, a nice person in the comments. Somebody was like antagonizing me a minute ago, so it's nice to get a compliment. Yeah, thank you. It's okay. I think it comes with the territory of putting yourself out there online. It's just my first live sketching, so I was like, I wasn't expecting it on the first live, but that's okay. Big girl, I can handle it. I hope you have a good day too, Joe. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, I need like a darker brown or darker blue. I've got a thing for my alcohol markers here, but I don't have, I'm not super organized with my markers. I need some better, I don't have nice dark blues. going to color that in. And then I've got the little window there, so I'm going to add a little window spot there. There we go. And let's add some shadows here. Oops. And I'm going to take my other color, my brick color. And let's take some green. I have to get some dark greens too. I've used so many of these. Alright, so I'm not liking how the roof is looking right now, so I think I'm going to add some gray just to make it a little less ugly. The thing I love about these sketches is they don't always come together until the very end. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with my N6 and I'm going to add some darker shadows. I'm not too worried about that marker bleeding. And I'll show you why in a minute. So I'm just adding the deeper shade of gray just in the kind of like deepest spots of those shadows. A little bit along here too. I think when you add shadows and highlights, it really starts to come together. This one's a little bit looser than I hoped, but that's okay. It's called a daily practice, not daily perfection. squeaking. Yeah, a little bit there. So I'm going to add some shadows here too. About like that. We're getting there. We're getting there. I'm going to add a little bit there too. And then I really want to add some okay, so I'm going to go in with a thicker marker now, or thicker ink, and define some of those lines. Okay. All right, now I think I'm going to use my Posca pen. I've got 3 and I think they're like, I'm not sure which one has ink still. I think this one. Or paint, I should say, not ink. And then I'm going to fix up some of these little mistakes that I made. That's looking okay. I'm just gonna add, I think I'll add a background. Blue. I can find a blue that still works. Let's see. That'll work. I think it's done. I always say that and then I always go back in. Clean up some edges here. Need some new paint pens. Yeah, I'm happy with it. Let me know in the comments what you think.